Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Debate physics also, but you can't pay them to stay on or get on the subject. So this AlphaPhoenix guy has done a joke video. Obviously spent an insane amount of time constructing props, wood carvings, whatever, the machine, blah, blah, blah. To mock free energy, I guess, perpetual motion in some extraordinarily bizarre way. This probably does get him the Mega Nerd Award for the year. It's got to win him that kind of Oscar, right? He's way outdone himself. He doesn't break, his pantomime scientist role playing. Writes an insane script. AlphaPhoenix is the channel, just in case you're curious. This is a guy who strung all the wire to do the Veritasium video, which was a pretty reasonable thing to do. It was a good experiment. This is obviously just a stupid, idiotic joke, and the joke is on him. So this is a person I did contact and explain that, this kinetic energy subject is really ripe for some thorough and careful investigation, and all that time he was probably constructing this pile of crap to do this stupid joke video, and the joke is on regular physics. The joke is on science, that they're too stupid to even figure out that no, their theory says this machine works. Okay, the hardcore root formula, in physics says this is a legitimate machine, that it should be makeable. That's what the theory says. It should work. So they're guilty. The free energy nut who designed this originally, he's not the kook. You're the kook. You're the ones selling the snake oil that doesn't work. So just thought I'd point out. The whole video is just him doing this shtick, talking in a bunch of gibberish about how his device works. And it's just such a long, tedious, stupid joke. And you're just saying that's all physics has become. It's a long, tedious, stupid, black matter joke. It's just so stupid. Alright, so that's where we'll start. That's where we'll start. Alright, then we'll jump to, the physics girl video I did a couple of days ago on the channel called Draft Physics versus Physics Girl Free Energy Physics 3/28/2022. Okay, so simple video, whatever it is, 24 minutes, just explaining how, when physics tells you something stupid like, oh, there was deformation and heat, but it didn't use any momentum to make the deformation or the heat. That is, it's momentum free. You don't have to put in any momentum. You don't have to put anything really known as energy, and you get a bunch of stuff out, that somehow stuff happened and you didn't have to use anything called momentum to make it happen. So you didn't have to use movement to cause movement. Clearly gibberish, nonsense, that you have two carts hit each other and there's an effect, and but there's no evidence that the effect happens, that half the energy just disappears. And so that's the other half of it's doing the reverse kind of thing of the Professor Lewin experiment, so we'll go to that. So, these are all physicists talking on the internet, using their credentials, they're real physicists, blah, 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 and they frankly suck at getting anywhere near the truth. Alright, and then we have the Professor Lewin video where he basically, proves free energy theory. Can't really say he's doing anything else, but just basically saying, yes, there is free energy, and because our theory says so, and so I'll make it happen. And you can see the little help make it happen feature right here. A little blob of clay on an air track cart. Never seen before. Okay, in the history of air carting, never saw that one before. Let's apply some clay to it. It works so much better that way. Okay. So the experiment did again. So here's physics saying, no, our theory isn't broken. As long as you have some clay, you can make it work. So this is an MIT lecture. So this is a place you pay, whatever, 30 grand a year to go learn physics. And this is what they have to resort to show you their physics in action, is blobs of clay. Well, putty.
Okay? You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Make it happen.
Go.
All right. So he proves. There it is. Okay. So he put a cart in with a certain amount of momentum, velocity, and mass. And he got back out more mass and velocity. So he pushes in 100 mass and velocities, and he gets 133 going one way and 33 going the other way, which really couldn't matter to the perpetual motion machine you could make, because all you care about is, well, I got an increase in the one direction and I can just capture that. So that's basically what that first video was showing, was a way of converting this theory, okay, into perpetual motion, because it's free momentum, and free momentum is energy. You can't really get around it. There's no way to logically argue that, if I do an experiment, I have more momentum after the experiment than before the experiment, I'm making free energy. It's no logical way to escape the conclusion, and so he's proven the theoretical reality of the perpetual motion machine. And this is MIT science. So physics is such a credible, everything the physicists tell you, it's so credible because they have so much evidence. Look up the Eddington experiment, for example. Very credible science. All right, so what we'll do is just to go through it one more time, which will probably be one more time and one more time until somebody makes something called the counter argument that's something called relevant. That actually gets to a single argument I will make in this video. In fact, a single person could actually make an argument without being just completely off the subject. If they could just get somewhere a little bit close to the actual subject. So the idea is you have a one mass and you bang it into a two mass. Now you could just be doing the one mass banged into one mass, and then you end up with a two mass out. Okay, it's pretty much the same experiment in reverse, where you lose 1/2 the energy by the 1/2 mv squared formula. Maybe I will put it in the dark over here. It is black magic. Okay, so mv squared, right? So they take the core of momentum and put silly little god features on it, little voodoo features, magic star, little shiny moon. They just stick astrology, notation. It's just such bad physics. So in this case, you have a two mass. They crash into each other, and the two mass ends up going, with 133. So it has 2/3 the original velocity. Okay, which is, just as a matter of practicality, impossible. You can't have a one mass hit a two mass and end up with 2/3 the velocity in the two mass, because then you end up with this 33%, this 33, this extra 33. So you have 100 momentums going in, you end up with 133 going in that direction, 33 in that direction. They seem somehow the universe knows they're supposed to subtract, which again is silly. So it's no worse than, I suppose, the simple analogy of a gun. They say the bullet has 2,000 joules coming out of one end of the gun, and then they'll say that the gun only has 2 joules of energy. 1,000-to-1 ratio in its energy, and yet they'll talk about Newton's third law and physics like it makes some kind of sense. Like, oh yeah, equal and opposite reaction, except it's a completely different, action and reaction. Okay, completely no energy in the gun, 2,000 joules in the bullet. from the same explosion, the same little explosion inside the gun, somehow knew to give 2,000 joules this way and only 2 joules this way. When the gun, if it was shooting another gun, it would only have a total of 4 joules. So if I put another gun right here and did the same thing, same explosion, right, the 2 guns will only get me 4 joules. But if I put a bullet in the gun, I get 2,000. Yeah, free energy all over the place. Insipidly, obviously, free energy. All right, so the simple device that defeats all of this junk physics is the lever, right? Because we know you're not going to be able to get away with this. So, you know, I mean, it's just clearly a nonsense. So the idea would be is I go back to this little cart example and I just sit there and say, okay, I got the 1 mass out here and I've got the 2 mass here. All right, so I've got the right distances to create an exchange between their momentums, to convert their momentums. And they're arguing, okay, that if I did this experiment, okay, that somehow, you know, this Professor Lewin experiment is telling me that this going in with half the velocity, so the 1 mass has the 2 velocity, this will leave with 2/3 of this is velocity. All right, which you know that ain't going to happen. This is going to leave with 1/2. It can't leave with 2/3. How can it possibly leave with 2/3 the velocity? How could this bounce off the lever after it moved it? Because, you know, it's just a known fact that the lever is going to move. Every piece of the lever is going to move identically. Okay, whether I put this 2 mass here, you know, in this position, whether I have a 2 mass in this position, right, or I have a you know, so if I put the 2 mass here equidistant from the fulcrum, we all know that it's going to be the same amount of energy in, the same amount of energy out, the same velocity in, the same velocity out, because the masses are identical. Well, the lever means that you can convert a 1 into a 2 in terms of make it weigh exactly the same. So I could just put a 1 mass here and have 2 mass here, and I'll get a perfect balance out of the lever. So indicating they have the same pressure, the same weight, and any energy that goes in is going to be balanced. So, you know, those are facts. Just hard facts. You can't get around those facts. So when we're told, the MIT professor is telling us, no, that's not going to happen. That somehow this heavier object on this part of the lever, somehow the lever is going to know that it has to move different than if there was a 1 mass here. If there was 1 mass here, the lever is going to move a certain distance at a certain speed. And somehow, when I have a 2 mass here, it has to move faster because it has to do this 2/3 thing, which means this has to go faster. You know, this must go faster if this is going to go faster. So if I'm going to get 2/3 out of here, somehow this has to push the lever like it's easier. So it's actually putting more energy into this with using less energy over here somehow, because it's going to move the lever more than if I just put the 1 mass out here. Somehow it's going to know that, oh, no, there's a 2 mass there, I can give it 2/3 the velocity. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense, and if I've argued multiple times, I mean, we can know, but it can't make any sense because we can just calculate where these atoms would be, each atom in the lever, what it would do in the 2 different circumstances. If I have a 2 mass here and a 2 mass here, we know the lever moves a certain way, and we know that when the 1 mass is here, the lever is going to move exactly the same way. It's no way for this side of the lever to tell what's happening on this side. It can't tell whether I put a 2 mass here or a 1 mass here, and vice versa. This piece of the lever can't tell whether it's a 2 mass here or a 1 mass here. So when I put a 1 mass here, I only get, you know, 100 back. I put 100 in, I get 100 back. But somehow when I put a 2 mass here, I get 2/3. I get even more back. And then, you know, the ironic thing is people will argue to conserve kinetic energy. They'll say that this doesn't leave with the same velocity. You know, when I have to go from heavy object to light object, the light object somehow doesn't leave, you know, with the required amount of energy. The lever fails to do the perfect conversion. So the simple argument is something as crude and simple as a lever, they have misidentified it. They say it converts not energy, that it makes energy or destroys energy. And no, it just converts energy. And it does it relatively it does it well, depending on how good your fulcrum is. It does it quite efficiently, a very high degree of efficiency. So, I mean, there's no logical sense here. There's no way you can make sense out of this. Professor Lewin video is complete garbage. I mean, it can't be taken seriously as possible because it does make free energy possible. Free momentum is free energy. If I'm getting 2/3 with the heavier mass out of one side, then clearly I can just keep doing that and keep making more and more energy. And that's apparently what his, the video with the gears, he's just taking advantage of the fact that by their crazy physics is I can put a little bit of energy in here, in this gear, and I can collect, more energy off the smaller gear. If I do the reverse, I somehow lose, energy. So it's really bad physics, and people just keep defending it when it can't be defended, because this is so simple to follow. I mean, this is like ABC blocks. I mean, seriously, A, B block, C block. I mean, that's all I'm asking you to do is put these little blocks together like this. This is really simple. See, you stack the little A, B, C blocks right on top. That's all a lever's doing. You know that it has to be this way, okay? If I put a 1 in here and a 1 out here, I get exactly the same velocity back. If I put a 2 mass here, all right, I know I'm going to get 1/2 the velocity, not 2/3, 1/2 the velocity on the 2 mass object. And then vice versa. I put a 2 mass here and I put a 2 mass here, I get exactly the same amount of energy back. And if I put it out here, I get exactly the same momentum. It's just I'm going to have twice the velocity and half the mass. I mean, it's always going to have to, the MV is always going to have to be conserved. See, they even say this crap. They'll say it. Professor Lewin will say it. You can finagle kinetic energy, but nature can't finagle momentum. I mean, they'll talk about conservation of energy and then do a video right in front of your face where they don't care, where they don't have to conserve it, where it doesn't get conserved. They'll explain how this makes sense. Yes, of course. When I shoot 2 guns at each other, it's only 4 joules. When I put a bullet in one of the guns, then all of a sudden the explosion equals 2002. So if I do the experiment, the same explosion, I do the explosion one way, I have a total of 2002 joules. And I do the same explosion with another experiment, and I get a total, the explosion only creates 4 joules of energy. I mean, it's just, it fails the ABC block test. You cannot put any of this together logically and defend it as a rational description of reality. It has nothing to do with reality. 1/2 mv squared has nothing to do with the truth. It has this horrible history. It was invented as a protest against atheist science. So a person who saw science as being too atheist invented this silliness. A free will, liberal, slutty kind of woman propagandized for it, but she had a big pile of money and could publish. There's just nothing good about it. It's even tainted by Young of famous double-slit wave particle duality silliness. I mean, it has nothing going for it as logic or reasoning or description of reality. And it's so obvious. I mean, like I said, it's like ABC easy to see that MV worked. Newton and Descartes got a ton of right answers. Galileo also. Just believing in mass and velocity. There was just no need to put this extra crap on it. And they put the extra crap on 100 years difference in time. So they put this crap on it first and made it really wacky. So it got way off numbers. Even nuttier than this, right? So it was 4,004 joules, versus 8 or whatever. Even wackier numbers. And then in the 1800s, they slipped this in front of it without much fanfare. Just to, it gets much, hey, it's not nearly as bad as it was. The answers aren't nearly as silly. But the half doesn't fix this. They can't they can't fix this nonsense. This Holy Ghost just makes a mess out of the physics. So what can be said? So there's a bunch of, desperate efforts to try to defend what can't be defended. It fails simple logic. The lever proves it can't be true. So, and so to make fun of the actual devices their theory says should exist, to me is just, that is such a fail, frankly. I mean, to spend a month, contriving your parts and your props to do a video mocking a silly idea like perpetual motion, when your physics is overtly saying it is a real thing, you should be able to make the machine. The theory saying the machine should work. Just a fact. And you're making fun of it. And you get it? I mean, it's just really silly. It's ironically funny that you're making fun of the fact that your theory predicts something that doesn't happen. And somehow that's joke-worthy, when that should be embarrassment-worthy. Right. Not a perfect video, but it'll have to do. Like I said, I've already done it, frankly. So, I should just find the physics channel and end on that. Just pointing out that I have done videos on this subject, lots of them. Well, this one's the inertia video, but we'll just jump to this one. Alright. So again, do you really believe, that you can 100% conserve momentum in an experiment, but you can also create a bunch of heat and deformation for free? Yeah, I don't think so. Alright. Well, I know so, frankly. I know this because I read the history. Unlike you, the one attempting to say I can't be right. I read the history, and the history's terrible. Go read it. You can't even decipher what these, in the 1600s, they said lots of crap that was just really crap. And they all did it, and it was all veiled in some sort of, what does God think? Really bad science. And here you are, hundreds of years later, like stupid drones, just defending, the historical notion, just defending the totem pole right in the middle of your physics. Really is pathetic. But you don't want to hear that. No, you don't. You don't want to accept. Because, it does have implications. If you accept that they got something so simple, the ABC's wrong, you can't trust any of the other letters where they have stacked them. All their wooey-verse, wormhole bullshit. Alright, anyway. Multiverses. Oh, Colito. So that's the video. And so till the next time and such, so forth and whatnot. It's just disappointing. You can't pay these people to answer the argument that the kinetic energy formula is just rubbish. Just has nothing defending it except experiments with putty on them. Alright, so till the next time and such. This has been a DraftPhysics.com, DebatePhysics.com also, but no one will show up for that either. Might as well show that website, right? yeah, just show it so you know it. Yes, it does exist. Alright, now I did add the little physics girl video. Maybe I'll add this video, although it's not as well done. The physics girl video is just a quick run through of this lever argument. And it just should make it just obvious that yes, of course, the formula is nonsense. To the reasonable, to any fair-minded judge, they should be able to figure out, yes, it's rubbish. Alright, till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. This has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. That's really enough. Oh, jeez. It's just very irritating.